With the release of Season 2 for Modern Warfare Zombies, they patched a lot of popular glitches. I'm going to show you guys everything that got patched and what still works and what changes they've made that they didn't discuss. Season 2 released on February 7th, and in the patch notes, they spoke very little about all the exploits they patched and changes that they've made. I've been in-game checking out this update, and I'll show you everything I found. The first thing they say in the patch notes is that there will be events coming for Season 2, but they will be released with Season 2 reloaded, like mid-season. There will be a new story mission, Dark Ether Rift, and schematics, and more. The first patch note for gameplay says that they increased the drop chance for ammo pouches in the high threat zone, so that's great, and they've closed various exploits related to Tombstone. With Tombstone, you can no longer dashboard and close app to save it, but we have the after patch, and I've made a full video on that, and honestly, I like this new way of doing it better. After using it for a couple of days, I've realized that this new method allows you to play for the full hour of the game. Because of the way this new method works, you have to down and bleed out, so you can stay the entire game, not even care about the storm, and not panic trying to get to a chopper and worry about closing app at the perfect time so that you can save your Tombstone. This new method is also easier to set up and easier to set friends up with. The only caveat is that you lose your insured weapons, but we're working on a way to keep them, and Tag935, shout out to him, has gotten it to work, and we're just working it out on how to replicate it. The next part in the patch notes talks about the weapons. They said that new weapons introduced in Season 1 have been added to the loot pool and can be found in lockers, crates, and the mystery box. Then they go on to talk about the improvements they've made to 3 of the wonder weapons, and one of them is the ray gun. It states that damage has increased for both the base weapon and when pack-a-punched. Base projectile speed has been increased plus 60% with further increases when pack-a-punched plus 110%. They reduce the damage the ray gun will deal to its owner, so it takes 8 shots to down a player. I went in and messed with the ray gun, and I really couldn't tell a difference at all. I've done a lot of testing with the ray gun to see how many shots it takes on certain zombies and bosses and elites, and there really was no difference. So whatever damage increase they've done to it, it's minimal. And even with these improvements, I'm not like putting a ray gun in my Tombstone to make sure it's duplicated. I'm just not really using it. It's not really the star of the show in this mode. If you need to take out Ethernest or deal with mercs, it's great. But we're not doing those objectives enough to warrant having to bring one of these in. This next patch note is talking all about the improvements to the Scorcher, and I made a full video about that yesterday because these improvements are incredible. I won't go over all of that again, but basically you can fly from the ground and go across the entire map and wreck all enemies in all 3 tiers. And you couldn't do this before. Now this is a wonder weapon that I'm going to keep on me at all times. The next patch note I was really happy to see, it's about the VR-11. They're saying it will now hit and deal damage to the ether worms. I had taken the VR-11 into the worm fights multiple times and my shots were just going straight through them and not doing any damage, and I was like, either my aim is terrible or like this is just not working. And I was right, it wasn't working. I did go in and try this on the red worm, and oh my god, we destroyed the worm in under a minute with just 2 of us with the VR-11s. It is officially the strongest weapon against the worm. I'm gonna make a full video about this because there's a little bit more to it, and also they increased the reload to warp speed on this thing. It is so fast, it's comical, but I love it. The next patch note is talking about the Juggernaut and how they patched all of our after patches to the God mode and quad pack-a-punch using the Juggernaut. They also fixed it where you were not able to switch weapons after coming out of it, so that's nice. I went in to try, and yes, the God mode is gone. You would go prone next to the Juggernaut and sprint while getting into it, and when you came out, you could hit the prone button, glitch out, and not go all the way to the ground and be in God mode. Now, you do go all the way to the ground, and the God mode is not working. I'm not aware of any after patches to this. Let me know if you guys do. This wasn't like a critical glitch. It was just kind of fun to do in the Outlast contracts, and when you go to the Dr. Jansen's story mission, you could be on the helipad in God mode, the zombies would flood in, and you could level up weapons really fast. With the quad pap glitch, you would throw down a Juggernaut, then down yourself, revive, drop both weapons, get into the Juggernaut, and when you exited, it would give you both weapons back. It would duplicate the ones you dropped on the ground and strip your wonder weapon of its rarity. You could then put on a legendary tool and double its damage and give it a pack-a-punch effect. This is patched, and it does not duplicate the weapons back into your loadout, and it leaves you empty-handed. There were multiple other changes that I've found in game that they did not mention. The first one really surprised me, and this was being able to breathe underwater and not drowned with PhD Flopper. Some of us were really convinced that this was intended, but looking back, maybe it was a little too OP. They did patch this, and it was not intended. If you go underwater and you drown, you get deleted from the match and cannot be revived, and you will lose everything. It's fine to use if you've got a Tombstone going and you're trying to leave the match. Like, it's safe to leave that way. But what's funny is that when they tried to patch this, they messed up the other protective effects of PhD Flopper. It made you start taking fire damage, and everyone noticed. The fire would shake your screen and deplete your health, whereas before you were protected. They quickly fixed this within 24 hours and also posted about it on Twitter, because I'm sure players were not thrilled about this. But yes, now it is back to normal and fire damage will not hurt you, but you will still drown in the water. Another thing they fixed was the fast running glitch that I posted and perfected. It wasn't even that useful, it was just fun and hilarious. To do it, you had to be holding dual-wield weapons and then fly up the recon drone zipline and then let go and come back down, catching the very top of the zipline. It would shove you back down to the ground and give you massive running speed. Like, so fast it was almost uncontrollable. And with the patch, they changed it where you cannot grab the very top of that zipline and have it shove you back down to the ground. It now sends you straight back up into the air. They also quickly patched the after patch to duplicating the ether blades in game. You would place an equipped mask into the doghouse or turrets, and if you had ether blades attached, it would turn the mask into blades. And then you could collect them and give them out to anybody in the lobby. Now when you try to do it and you put a mask into the doghouse or turrets, it's just a mask and not blades. They also removed some zip lines around the Dokkaebi Warlord fight to make it harder to access her. It doesn't change much because you can still use the cranes and other buildings with ease, and it's not hard to figure out. They also fixed a pathing issue for the zombies in Tier 3 by one of the Pack-a-Punch locations on the west side. Normally the zombies could not jump over this wall and would just pile up, but now they do jump over the wall. They also fixed the wall breaching with the Scorcher, and this is how we were able to look behind the bunkers to see if anything was there, and they were empty at the time. You would just simply fly up into the ceiling, and that is not possible anymore. Also, the bunkers are starting to open on the Warzone version of this map, so it's possible that these bunkers were never meant for this zombies mode. And shout out to BBK for these screenshots from Warzone. They also fixed that crazy glitch in the graphics that was making this freakishly strange wall next to Levin Resort in Tier 2. That was pretty entertaining, and I wonder how that even happened in the first place. But let's now talk about what does still work. The Outlast spawn glitch still works. You just cancel the Outlast contract at 95% and stay close to the vicinity, and the zombies will just keep spawning in like the contract is still running. This allows you to not have to mess with the progression bar and having to go in and out of the area to control it from completing. One thing I was surprised to see still works is getting underneath the excavator in Tier 3. You just go prone up underneath here and you can turn on some contracts around you and zombies will pile up and you will get a ton of kills. The last thing that still works is taking the story mission exfils, closing app, and keeping your ether blades equipped in your lethal slot and being able to bring them back in every match. This, however, will not work if you're trying to keep a Tombstone active on the map. You cannot exfil with the Tombstone method and have to bleed out every time. So if you want to do one of these, you cannot do the other, but if you just keep ether blades in your Tombstone, then you should be set. If you guys know of any updates or changes that I did not cover, definitely comment down below. I hope this helped you guys out, and we'll see you next video.